Okay, it's now 9 a.m. We can start the meeting, I suppose. Welcome, everybody. Monday morning, first session. I don't know about you, but I'm very sleepy. Thank you, Tomas, for the coffee. It will hopefully get me through the meeting. If I fall asleep halfway through, you know what to do, right? Okay. Um, yes, so this is the NetConf session. If you're not expected to be in that conf meeting, you might want to go to a different room. Uh, I'm Kent Watson. My co-chair, Per Anderson, is on the line. And I think our secretary, actually, I don't think our secretary has joined yet, but Mithun is normally on the line. Oh, there he is. Okay. As always, there's no well, and normally I go very fast on the no well slide. But because it's the very first session Monday morning, I probably should spend a little time to say that it's incumbent upon everybody to be aware of the fact that anything you share with the idea of, you come to the microphone is considered to be you're contributing to the idea. Um, there's more details in it, so please look at it. There's a QR code if you're concerned about the details. Um, look at that carefully before contributing anything to the microphone. For folks that are in person, please be sure to sign in data tracker. There's a QR code on the screen and a microphone. Use that to join the queue. Like if you want to join, like at every presentation, there's an opportunity for discussion. Um, use the show of hand, raise your hand to join the queue before you come to the microphone, and that way it's clear who it is that's making comments to the microphone. And of course, when you leave the queue, try to remove yourself from the micro, like remove your in the app, remove yourself. Of course, the chairs can remove you, but it's a little bit of a um, you know extra work. So it's best if you can do it yourself. Um, Same for remote participants, but also be extra careful of external audio noises that in the background. Um, just be careful of polluting our environment here at the IDF. There's many resources that can be accessed during the meeting. Of course, there's Meet Echo. Um, we will use a timing clock. So, most presentations are well constrained how much time they have, but for some, we might put up a timing clock. It's a countdown timer. Show up at the bottom of the screen, and it might, turn red if you're in the last 1 minute of your presentation. So just be mindful of trying to stay in your time constraint. Um, Oh, there is a notes page, and I don't know if you've done it already. You have. Okay, perfect. Yes, already to the chat window, the URL for the notes page has been posted. So please, everybody, join the notes page and primarily make sure your own comments are being captured correctly. But if you're able to, also capture the comments from others. Um, it's very helpful to the chairs for that to be done. Okay, encouraging participation. So this is kind of just out there, but everybody is a volunteer when we come to the ITF. But the ITF only happens, it only is successful because of the volunteers standing up and doing more. Um, so, first and foremost, if we encourage participation on the mailing list. Um, of course, during presentations, we hope that you'll provide comments, even if the comment is as simple as "I support the draft" or "I approve of of this idea." Um, as, as little as that is meaningful. um, there are many drafts that are moving through the through the working group, and if you can provide reviews to those drafts, it's very helpful. Of course, if you're the author of a draft, that's amazing. And then there's a draft shepherd. So at the end of the process, after the draft has gone through the working group, but before it goes to the ISG, um, we need to have a shepherd write up, and we always ask if anyone would be willing to be the shepherd uh, to to do the write up for the draft. So there's many opportunities to be participating in the ITF. Um, So active authors are encouraged to participate in the review of other working group documents in order to increase working group activity participation, reciprocate effort shown by others, and to illustrate broad understanding, interest, and thought leadership. So truly, it is the case that your participation is being acknowledged, right? I mean, um, if you just sit in your chair, you're kind of anonymous. But if you stand up and say something, you become recognized and you're an active participant. It's important. It's good. Be aware that the chairs are human beings and may forget or miss deadlines. This happens all the time. Like we receive so many emails and things get lost sometimes. So be kind and just remind us, like, if we forgot to respond to you at any time. Okay, so status of post working group documents. This is great. We have accomplished s- many things in the last, 4 months. First and foremost, the port numbers draft, IETF, sorry, RFC 9900. That's a very cool number, by the way. 9900 was published. So congrats on that. I think of yes. Yes, very good. Um, and there's many other drafts that are currently in the RFC editor queue. So next meeting, we will clap again for all of them. It's so good to see that we're actually publishing documents. That's what we're here to do. Um, more documents. So we have not only in the RFC editor queue, but we have some that are in last call, expert review, ISG evaluation, AD evaluation, and a couple that are in waiting for a working group chair go ahead. Um, and then others that have WG consensus and are waiting for write up. So all these documents are basically out of the working group, so not expected to be discussed during this meeting, but they're also in queue. They're about to be published, and so very good. We're going to clap a lot next IETF meeting for documents that are in this working group. We have the PrivCan document and the list pattern. Well, pretty much all these documents are being discussed here. We can see um, the first, well, I guess 5 of them are being discussed here, and then 2 of them were being, their updates were posted to the mailing list before this meeting. The agenda for this meeting is on screen. I'm not going to read it out for you. It was also posted to the mailing list, so hopefully everyone has had a chance to look at it. I think it's 2 slides. Yep, 2 pages here. So here's the second page. There's some documents. I'll go to the previous page. Some documents that are chartered. So these are documents that have already been adopted by the working group and considered to be working group documents. And so we give attention and time to them first. And then there's other documents that are currently not chartered, but hopefully they'll be adopted by the working group shortly, and they come after. And I think there's a little bit of time at the end for an open mic session. So if and come closer, am I too? Thank you. So if there's any desire to talk about anything that's not been discussed before, that's your opportunity to raise the issue during the open mic session. And I think that concludes the chair slides. So I will go to the first presentation as soon as I figure out how to do this. Okay, here we go. Perfect. Try the on off as a slider. I had to turn it on. Yep.
Okay, great. Morning, everyone. My name is Qing. So I will present the update of the list pagination. So this draft has been around for a while, and finally we actually make progress. So it doesn't work. Uh, this doesn't work.
Oh, okay. Just 1 second. Um,
Do you need to
no,
install
I
this?
need no. I got it. Okay, try now. Try now.
Okay. Okay. Okay, we have three relevant drafts. First is list pagination base draft, and so we clean remaining review comments from Ops DR review and Young Doctor review. And you can see a list of changes we made. First, we add note on potential resource impact from larger and complex query. So this comes from Ops DR review, and so we made some clarification on the text in the base this page in the draft. Second is about protocol mapping, also raised in the Ops DR review, and but we think this is more relevant to the NETCONF list pagination and the RESTCOM list pagination. So we added some base text, to clarify protocol mapping has already been documented in two relevant protocol list pagination draft. The third change actually we relate to the offset and cursor. So this in early comments, they think we need to clarify how offset and cursor, these two parameters can use together. We think we believe actually this should be excluded to use together actually. So we made a statement and also further we moved out of the conformance bullet and make it more clear because it's not a conformance issue. And the last change is we use list pagination error for logging and debugging paginate queries. For all other changes are just editorial change. We also believe all the review comments from OpsDR review and Young Doctor has been addressed. The second is NetConf extension for list pagination. I think we don't make too many changes. Actually, we add a revision number of young data model, and we believe all other comments has been addressed. And also for further technology change, actually no technology change has been agreed by list pagination design team members. So that's the current status of NetConf list pagination draft. RESTConf, and we also believe similar to the NetConf list pagination, all comments has been resolved. And this the current version has been agreed by our NetConf list pagination design team members. And for the next step, we request the publication. Yeah, thank you.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Jen, for the update. Um, of course, I think the publication will go through, and so it's going to be on Mahesh's desk shortly. Um, and not specific to this one document, but in general, I like the way these documents are structured, that there's the one document that's the list pagination document, the general, just defines the general list pagination mechanism, and then there's a NetConf specific document that's for how to map it to NetConf, and then a RESTConf specific document for how to map it to RESTConf. Um, in general, I think this is a good way to go. We'll probably talk about it later in this meeting. Again, not specific to this document. Does anyone have comments about this document?
There is a comment from the chat. I can read it.
Oh, yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, if you can read it out.
Yeah, so Rashad had a comment that he hasn't
A little bit
taken
louder, please. If you
he hasn't taken a look at the document since Montreal, but he wonders if there's any implementation status to share.
Oh, implementations. I think the document itself talks
We
about
do
some.
have implementation. In the early presentation, we list a set of the presentation. I think, yeah, we can post to the list, for the implementation we have. Or
Right, right. Yeah, the documents themselves, I think, have an implementation section. As co-author of one of the documents, I can say that I have implemented them partially, right? So there's, there's different. I think there's a limit and order by, and so I've implemented some of the query parameters, but not all of them.
So you mentioned publication request. Is there an update to the draft that is to be posted for the main draft? I believe you said no changes for the NetConf and the RESTConf draft, but what about the main draft? Is there an update coming for that, or is it done?
I think just before this meeting, we post all the update and also confirm from the reviewer in the Ops DR review and the young doctor.
Okay.
And everything has been resolved. Yeah.
All right. So that means it's truly ready to go out.
Yes.
At this point.
Yeah. After this meeting, we'll probably send it to your.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you, Chen.
Yeah.
I can share, if Mahesh was done in the queue, I can share Per Andersson, co-author of these drafts, that I have implemented most of it previously. And I know that Olof Hagsand has implemented most of it as well for implementations, that is. Thank you.
The next presentation is NetConf over quick. David Dye is presenting. And here comes David. Thank you. Oh, let me give you a slide clicker. Okay.
Good morning, colleagues. Glad to glad to see you again, especially in China. Now, I'd like to give the brief introduction for NOQ. Since the 1.2.4 meeting, Montreal meeting, we have generated two versions. The first version is
All right, so I think actually, sadly, that's the end of the chartered working group documents. So we'll move
I
to,
think we might be back.
hello?
Hello, I can hear you.
Oh, yes, yes, okay. So let me load your slides then. The
Yes.
NetConf over quick slides.
Yes. No, the quick client server.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Yes, and I'll pass slide control to you. You should have it now. Go ahead.
Thanks. I don't dare to start the video. I'll just run it as is. My name is Per Andersson, and I'm going to present the Yang groupings for quick clients and quick servers. Let's go. Yes, so what are we doing? We're defining reusable Yang groupings for the quick protocol. We're reusing the TLS client server and the UDP client server, documents and Yang modules for this, and adding IANA Yang modules for the quick versions and quick transport parameters. And this work is done is used by the NetConf over quick Yang module. The update since last IETF is that we have clarified handling of quick transport parameters updates, and then editorial fixes, updated copyright year, revision date for initial IANA Yang modules, and editorial fixes. So this is the verbatim from the document regarding the IANA considerations for the quick transport parameters registry. The issue is, as was raised at the last meeting, and that the provisionally registered names can change value when they are made permanent. So how would that be handled? And in short, it's handled as normal with the Yang Semver work. So you would roll a new major version of the Yang module when you update the enum values in a non-backwards compatible way. And IANA is okay with this, with these considerations. And that is it this time around. All issues that have been raised have been discussed, addressed, and cleared. So in my view, we can go for working group last call. Opening up for questions.
I'm a little bit surprised that it's already ready for a working group last call. It seems like it was just recently adopted. It's good. I mean, of course, it's not adding too much, so maybe it makes sense. Does anyone have any comments or questions, concerns about this document?
Yeah, this is Chen Wu again. Can you go back to slide 4, page 4, about the
Yes.
yeah, quick transport parameters?
Yes.
I review this part. You define a Yang model, use the enum, but if you change enum into identity, whether this issue will go away actually, because for this quick version issue, maybe they already can be see as a capability negotiation between the quick client and quick server. They already can be aware of this version issue or. Do you know what I mean? Actually, I see.
Yeah. I understand. It was discussed in Madrid to use identities or enums, and the working group decided on that we should use enums, as is done for most other IANA Yang modules for registry parameters.
Okay. Yeah, I just try to understand why managing system need to care about this issue. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they need to. They update the Yang module and continue as they would. The value is not. It's only in the description, so the underlying system would have to update it anyway, manually.
Okay, maybe provide some example will help. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jin.
Any other comments for this draft? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are we able, did we get the presenter back for the CBOR encoding document? Okay.
Hi,
Asking
am
to
I
share
audible?
slides. Okay, hold on a second. I'm trying to, I thought I'd share your slides already. Let me do it one more time. Okay, they should be on screen now. Do you see them?
Yep, there was about.
Okay, let me pass a clicker control to you. Okay, you should be
Yep.
able to move through the slides yourself now.
Yep, received it. Thanks. Hi everyone. So we're presenting the CBOR encoding for HTTPS based transport for Yang notifications. And so basically, this is an extension to the HTTF notif draft, which is HTTPS based transport notifications over Yang encoding. So what the draft initially suggests is that we have a way to transport notifications for Yang data over the HTTPS protocol. So we basically implemented the following, and we wanted to extend the particular draft. Hello, am I not audible? Sorry.
Do you have a repeating audio background noise going on?
I'm not sorry.
Curious.
I'd assumed it was from the site. Sorry, I just try to reload.
Okay.
Is it any better now? No.
Sounds better. Thank you.
Okay. Or
Sorry, it's back. All right,
okay.
whatever it is, it's back.
Okay, I'm really sorry about it. I'd assumed it was the connection, but I wasn't sure.
Okay, please continue with your slides. We have a time schedule we have to stick to. Okay, now we've lost all audio. Ooh, I don't know if you can hear me, but we cannot hear you. Oh my God, what the hell is this in the chat window? Okay, thank you, Mark, for saying that you can hear me. Okay, we will move on to the next slide, next presentation. The show must go on. All right, so the first presentation, I think the not chartered documents, Yang Push version 2. Rob Wilton, I believe you're presenting this.
Can you hear me, Kent? Can the room hear me?
We can hear you, thank you.
Fine. If I lose connection and things like that, which sounds like possible, then Dan has very kindly offered to step in and present if necessary. So he's been participating in this as well. So this is an update on Yang Push Lite effectively, which has been renamed to be Yang Push 2, but other than a change of the name, nothing else is changing. So it's not changing the name because of change of scope. It's because in the last IETF there's a proposal that using Yang Push 2 would be better than to have other extensions. So just to recap of what is Yang Push Lite. So obviously quite a few people are implementing Yang Push drafts. So why are we doing a new version of Yang Push v2? And the goals here is to simplify the Yang Push drafts and protocol. So it turns out that although we're implementing, or the vendors are implementing it, we're not implementing anything like all of the drafts. And in various places we are, can you still hear me?
There's
Hopefully
a
you still
thumbs
hear me.
up in the audience.
Yeah, fine. I lost some video or something, so it's fine. So hopefully you still hear me. The goal is to simplify Yang Push. The goal is also to have keep that to try to get the two of those to be similar, other than how the subscription is set up in the first place. As part of the Yang Push work, and particularly Thomas's work in terms of observations and telemetry, there's quite a few extensions to Yang Push to achieve that. And as part of this work, we're trying to merge a lot of those in. So you have sort of one draft that covers most of that. And there's an issue related to this later on. And the last thing is to allow for more efficient implementation. So one of the requirements of Yang Push is that every update is sent as a single message, whereas a lot of implementations don't necessarily have that flexibility to do that. So again, the like stages need to be close to how pushes do it. So what about, why are we not just sort of changing or updating RFC 8639 and 41, which is subscribe notifications of the existing Yang Push drafts? Well, we don't want to sort of break those effectively, and in the conversations we've had, it became clearer that it's easier to write a separate, cleaner implementation than trying to list all the changes and differences and bits where we are either implementing bits of Yang Push and not others, or not conforming. So this seems like an easier way to do it. And why not just use GNMI? Well, it turns out in the industry, though some people are happy with GNMI, there's others that weren't able to extend it in the way they wanted, and hence why we're doing a new Yang Push
stable connection to server on my laptop, but I imagine everyone in the room is having the same issue. We've lost Rob. Slides have disappeared. Ay, ay, ay.
Can you hear me again now?
Yes, can I hear you now? I will
Yeah,
reload your slides
thank you.
and give you clicker control. Please jump ahead
Thank
to
you.
whatever slide you were on before.
Okay, this is really my last. After this one, I'll try and skip through to the key issues. Right, I think we're also there. So we added distributed notification support. One of the things that actually that was interesting from that is that that I'm augmenting in the publisher ID into the envelope, and that highlighted an issue on the next slide that we then discussed and hopefully come to conclusion to. So one of the key issues is that the envelope draft that's just gone past last call depends on Yang push. So we didn't want to have Yang push v2 to have like Yang dependencies on the Yang push v2 one Yang data models. They're meant to be able to be sort of used entirely separately or both together if you want to. You can implement both, but the intention was they're separate. And the IETF YP notification Yang module that defines envelope also defines some Yang push v1 related configuration capabilities. And also that draft that defines the Yang module is post working group last call as implemented, and we don't really want to slow it down. So we discussed yesterday a couple of choices how to solve this problem. And one choice is that we split the IETF YP notification draft into two modules. One, the existing one that's containing the envelope, and split the config and capabilities out to a separate one. But noting that that would impact both the existing implementations because they would have to change, and also possibly the publication timeline. It might take like a couple more weeks or a month to resolve this, maybe open other questions and things. The second choice was to change Yang push v2, not to directly reuse the notification envelope, but define its own equivalent one. So probably reference the draft, maybe as informatively, but just define a separate envelope for using the Yang push v2. It was also noted in the discussions that we already copy rather than reuse other parts of the envelope anyway for Yang push v2 to simplify it. Because things like it always being used and some of the fields just mandating that they'll always be there for Yang push v2 meant that that was cleaner. And another thing we noted is there's various other Yang push related extension drafts that we've merged into Yang push v2 to have a complete and simpler spec anyway. So the conclusions from the discussion that we had yesterday, Sunday, was that the choice 2 is the better option. So effectively, we won't touch the existing draft. I'll carry on as it is, and instead we'll just pull in the base envelope for into the Yang push v2 specification. So now the question is, does the working group agree? Yes. So Mahesh said we might poll this question. So this would be nice. Who knows whether polls are still working remotely and locally? We'll see. So I don't know if you can potentially do a poll for this question, please.
Yes, thank you, Rob. I believe Per is setting up a show of hands poll at the moment to see if the working group agrees.
Yes, I'm trying to set up a question for this.
So while Per setting that up, we did also discuss a third choice here, which was to reuse the draft and then have various deviations and links to it. But I don't think that that is a good solution. I don't think it would go through the IETF process. Just waiting for that poll.
Did you get that, Per?
Yes, I'll post the poll now. Show of hands active. I hope you're content with it. Does the working group want to inline IETF YP notification? Yes, this is option 2 from the slide. Or split up, mistyped IETF YP notification into 2 modules. That is the no. Choice 1 in Rob's slide. I can ask a clarifying question, Rob, if you may. You said that you have already inlined other parts.
So for that particular, the notification header, that has some optional fields for adding in. I'm trying to think what the fields are on top of my head. The maybe it was an observation time. I can't remember the sys name. So those fields, rather than adding them in, yeah, they got augmented into the Yang push updates. So we've just incorporated those directly. So I'm not sure that's a good explanation. I could pull up the draft to see if we had time. So one question. So while the poll's running, one person's voted no for this. So I wonder if they possibly be able to put into chat or speak on the mic line as to why they're suggesting no on this one. Be good to understand.
Okay, looking at a show of hand results, it seems the room or there's overwhelming support for inlining the IETF Yang YP notification. So I hope that answers your question. I'm going to terminate that poll.
It does, but I think Rashad was going to, maybe Rashad has spoken against it, so I just wondered what his reasoning was, if it was Rashad who's in the queue.
So the reason I said no is because I haven't had time to think about this, and hence my comment earlier that maybe it should be discussed in the mailing list, because I hadn't checked your slides before, Rob, and that's the 3 minutes ago when that choice was sprung on me. And I thought it'd be better if I had time to look into this and reply on the mailing list. So it's not a no, it's more a no because I can't say yes now.
That sounds fine. So, and yeah, I will try and summarize this onto the discussion again, send it to the working group mailing list as well, so that we can explain why. And I can probably provide a bit more detail. And we had the benefit of the discussion actually is that Alex had some good slides to explain this issue as well that I've not incorporated here. But thank you. We can skip over this one. Basically, I'd had some new art for this to explain this issue, so I thought I'd incorporate it in the slide deck between a nice clean solution or one that has some various sports and things on. So what's left to do on this work? Still quite a lot. I think the spec is quite well progressed, but the key things is the NACAN stuff, or basically not necessarily NACAN, but how do we do anything related to access control filtering, things like that. So the text for that needs to be updated. Handling RPC errors, the draft needs to be updated to do that. There's 8640 and 8650, which are the Yang push bindings to NetConf and RESTconf. So to merge in some of that work, I think as well. Perhaps one of the key ones is this YPath specification and things like that, to split that out into a separate document. So I think that's something we might need to do some point soon. There's still quite a few open issues to work through. Some of them are still significant. I think one of the key ones is agreeing on like what's determined is like the GNMI atomic behavior. How do we document that? Is one thing that's come up. And another one that's come up in the GNMI space is how do you handle subscriptions to like an unchanged subscription to some part of the tree that has some data nodes that support unchanged and some that don't. So I think there needs to be further discussion both in the land of GNMI and how that works, but also probably to try and align the behavior for Yang Push 2 as well. It'd be nice if we could have the same behavior in that case for both of them, ideally. So there's still work carry on, and we'll have meetings every couple of weeks to progress that. So yeah, bi-weekly, bi-monthly meetings every fortnight to discuss these. The aim here is still that the core parts of the protocol, not the whole thing, but the bits that have a major impact are stable enough to start implementing around IETF 126. So that's what we're looking for. And so I think there was a poll done at IETF 124 about a poll discussion was whether the work group supported doing an adoption poll. I think, if I remember correctly, there's good support for that. Since the question to chairs is whether running an adoption poll after this meeting would be plausible or not, but that's sort of a chair's decision. And that's, I think, effectively it.
Yep. Thank you, Rob. This is your last slide, yes?
Yeah.
Perfect. I do believe we could do a show of hand poll to see if the working group is interested in, if they think the document is ready for adoption. Is
Yeah, we did one such poll last time. We can do it again. I'm not against, but there was a poll last time.
Okay, so I just started the poll to see if the working group thinks the document is ready for adoption. While we're waiting for the results, I will congratulate Rob on the most interesting AI-generated artwork. I don't know what the ants are for.
What the ant theme is, neither do I. Once I started with it, it just felt like actually it'd be good to carry on.
Okay. All right. Okay, so already we see there's overwhelming support for adopting the draft, and we will do an adoption poll on list after this meeting.
Thanks all.
Thank you, Rob. Okay, so we're going to go back to one of the adopted draft presentations from Barajwa, the CBOR encoding for HBS-based transport notification, Yang notification.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm going to pass slide control to you. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, we're presenting the CBOR encoding for HTTPS-based transport for Yang notifications. So the idea was that we were building on the HTTPS notif draft, which was a document proposing a protocol for sending asynchronous notifications or asynchronous Yang notifications over HTTPS, very similar to the idea of sending notifications in the RC 5277. And we started working on an implementation based on the guidelines laid out in the document, where we had a publisher and a receiver. And the idea was that the receiver didn't need to be a NetConf or a RESTConf server necessarily, but it would have two HTTPS endpoints / capabilities and / relay notifications. So the publisher would initiate the conversation by sending a HTTPS GET request to the receiver's / capabilities endpoint, along with suggesting what capabilities it does process, and the receiver would reply with the 200 OK message and complying with the possible receiver encoded capabilities. And JSON and XML was supported in the initial draft, and while we were implementing it, we experimented with other encodings and thought CBOR encoding was also a good idea. This was the high-level implementation architecture, which borders upon the Yang push ideology, where the entire system is like a Kafka publisher. And once the receiver node receives the notification, it puts it into a specific Kafka topic, which is then consumed by a Kafka consumer, which is like a time series database. We use Influx database in our implementation. And we use like Prometheus and Grafana for monitoring. But as we were doing our implementation, we sort of tested out different encodings, and we also wanted to include the CBOR encoding, given that it's standardized, and we also realized that it's pretty efficient, especially in bandwidth constrained networks where we get pretty good throughput for CBOR, right? And we proposed this document in the last two IETFs, and it has got adopted in the last IETF. And the updates since the last one were we fixed a few references from IANA, and the draft has been updated to the working group status. And we'd asked for a few reviews in the mailing list. One of the most prevailing question we had was that with the CBOR encoding, we have actually two different ways of encoding the data, one using named identifiers and one using SIDS, which is schema identifiers. And according to the RFC 9254, we have an optional parameter in the application media type where we can specify which encoding we want to use, and this allows us to sort of figure out which encoding we want to use while communicating it. But the initial draft, we use the HTTP application status of like application slash XML or application slash JSON. So if we follow the similar guidelines, if you use application slash CBOR, we won't have the optional ID parameter that we can use, which means we would have to communicate whether we want to use the SIDS encoding or the named identifier encoding in a different way, which we still can do technically by having which we still can do by having a separate receiver capability, because in the receiver capability we can just have it as like a standard tag where we right now have encoding JSON, encoding XML. We can have two different encoding CBOR or encoding CBOR in SIDS. We wanted to find out which is the most standard way of progressing ahead, because the second one would introduce a dependency and changing the initial draft. But it seemed more standard way because it relies on RFC 9254. We'd already asked for reviews in the mailing list, so it would be nice if people have suggestions here or we get it on the mailing list. We were also working on adding CBOR support to the libyang library. We've made progress and submitted a PR where we wanted to introduce the standard CBOR handling support for libyang. We're receiving reviews on the PR for that as well. That's about it. First, any questions?
Okay, thank you. First off, I want to congratulate you on the most clear remote microphone audio. I'd like very, very just clear. I could hear every word. Thank you. And everyone else, take note. Your microphone, your audio quality matters. It's very difficult sometimes to hear remote participants. Please go back to slide number 9. I think we have comments from the room. Alex, you're first in queue.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
slide 8. Yeah, thank you. So I read your feedback on the mailing list, and I already got a response to that. So I will send it out when I have it written. But here I agree with you that I think we should use application / young data plus CBOR as actually the data that is encoded from the node. It's young encoded data rather than pure CBOR, pure XML, and pure JSON data. So I do think we should use young dash data plus the encoding. I am aware that the HTTPS notif draft is out of the working group. So I'm not sure which would be the better way to change those encodings, either by just quickly changing those media types on the HTTPS notif, or just using this draft to update the HTTPS notif. So I don't know which process would be better here, up to the working group. But yeah, my opinion here is that since this data is actually young encoded data, we should actually use the media type for young data.
So as a contributor, I'll say that I think best would be to update the document before it's been published. As a co-author, I can say that I think it's a good idea for the co-authors to push for that. My other co-author is also AD, sitting in the room laughing. So actually, Med is going to be the acting, officiary of this document. But Mahesh, do you have any comments?
No, I didn't want to jump the queue. I agree. The draft is, of course, past working group. It's sitting actually past ISG review at this point. But if it's, I'm okay to ask Med to pull it back and make the change if need be.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Okay, so I think the thing to do is to bring it back to the working group and just ask the working group if there's any objections to the change, and then we'll make the change. Benoit, you're next in queue.
Thank you. So thank you for this work. So I see that you had like a hackathon this weekend. Can you share a bit more about what you did during the hackathon for the LibYang implementation?
Right, of course. Yeah, okay. So what we've done is we've added sort of CBOR support to LibYang, as in LibYang follows a standard path where we where we sort of parse. I mean, it supports XML and JSON currently, and it has different APIs to read the data, and it mainly supports like parsing and validating the Yang formats and parsing the XML and JSON input formats, manipulating the data into a data tree, and then mapping it with the Yang format and seeing if it's right, and then also like a printer for the output. So we've decided to add CBOR support for the same. But instead of writing like a complete CBOR parser from scratch, we decided to use libcbor as like the fundamental CBOR parser. And what we had developed was like a mapping between the Yang data tree and the input CBOR data. You can find the work on the pull request number 2130. Sorry, 2499. Yeah, we weren't able to present the slides for the hackathon, but we'll update the notification, or I can share the here in the chat. We received some comments regarding the coding style and a few improvements to make. We've updated that as well. So right now, you would be able to use LibYang and just give it any sort of data and any sort of CBOR data, and it should be able to parse it and check if the CBOR data conforms to a particular Yang model that we written for it. And yeah, it would also be able to into like you could give it JSON data and print it out in XML if you want to debug. That should be working for now. But we'd only implemented CBOR named identifiers for now because we weren't fully sure on what architecture we should use for CBOR schema identifiers, as we would have to have a database storing all the mappings from like the schema identifier to the actual named identifier somewhere. But that's something that we plan to do in the future. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well-
Yeah. You also get the award for the longest response to a question. One last comment on Thomas.
Right.
You have
Right, just a very quick one. Hey, thanks a lot, Meher. I wanted to
Yeah.
ask actually the same question as
Bring the
Benoit
microphone
did.
down.
So
Can you bring the microphone down facing? Thank you.
yeah, so I wanted actually to ask the same question as Benoit. So great
Yeah.
job. Looking forward for testing in the next IETF hackathon.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you. Right.
Okay,
Sure.
great.
Okay.
Yeah, good progress. Happy to see
Yeah.
this document moving forward. Moving on to the next document presentation. So we already did Yang push. The next one would be transaction ID mechanism. I think Per is presenting this one.
Yes. Can you still hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Great. I have slide control. So I'm going to present transaction ID mechanism for RESTconf on behalf of the authors, Jan Lindblad and myself. The background is that Jan wrote a draft for a transaction ID mechanism for NetConf. It defines a somewhat rudimentary solution for RESTconf. And this document defines a solution in parity with the NetConf transaction ID mechanism. So the solution adds the possibilities is to supply the transaction ID as a payload attribute, which is in parity with the NETCONF transaction ID mechanism. It furthermore adds or extends the possibility to have a default transaction ID as a HTTP e-tag header, and you can use the HTTP last modified header for conditional requests. This is somewhat defined in transaction ID for NETCONF, but further refined in this draft, as well as the conditional application of requests with HTTP if match header. Let's go to the next slide. So this is what the transaction ID looks with when it is supplied as a payload attribute. You can see the highlighted TXIDE tag in the payload there. So this is an addition in this draft. This is how it works in the NETCONF variant of transaction ID as well. I've shown an example with XML here, but of course, since this is RESTconf, this can also be done in JSON. It's included in the draft. And using the HTTP headers, so this is the solution defined in the NETCONF transaction ID is that the e-tag is the only way to supply a transaction ID for RESTconf. So there's no granularity as for the corresponding NETCONF solution. This document instead adds or uses the e-tag transaction ID value as a default value if the nodes doesn't have an explicit transaction ID attribute set. And together with the if match HTTP header, you can then reject an entire request if the transaction ID values in the header or attributes don't match the nodes. And the next steps, this was raised by Kent that it should be a parity between the NETCONF and RESTconf protocols for the transaction ID mechanism. This shows that it is possible to do. This is a proposed solution for that work. If the working group wants to work on this, then let's adopt this work and define a solution. And then the normal route, gather working group feedback when defining the solution, etc. Time for questions or suggestions.
Yeah, thank you, Per. Do you have one more slide?
Yeah, it's only this slide.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. So as a contributor, I can you go back to the previous slide. I think slide number 5. Yes. So help me understand the last bullet point, reject entire request. Is this, are you saying that, I mean, so this document, I'm sorry, the transaction ID document proposes a very granular mechanism. But here it's saying that the entire request is being rejected based on the HTTP header. Is it granular or is it not granular?
Currently, this is what is in the document, but it can be further refined, of course. So currently, as it stands in the document, it rejects the entire request. But that, as you point out, that should probably be changed to match the NETCONF transaction ID mechanism to be granular, of course. That's the intention, at least.
Right. Again, as a contributor, I mean, one approach, the transaction ID draft, would have been to copy paste the HTTP header solution, which is the coarse header based transaction ID, but it chose to do a more granular idea, which is good. Um, but if we don't replicate that granular idea into the RESTConf, then I don't think that's necessarily parity. Achieving the parity that we spoke of and had the poll on last IETF meeting. So yeah, I think it should be granular.
Yeah, good point.
Any other comments on this document? Okay, as a contributor, one more time. Um, I see this document, and this isn't a comment specific to this document, but for like all documents that, based on the desire to have parity between RESTConf and NetConf, I think there's probably two good ways of doing that. One is to have a single document that defines the generic solution and then subsections for how to map it to NetConf and how to map it to RESTConf. I guess we should talk about CoreConf, but uh, CoreConf is not actually maintained by this working group, so we don't have to. So that's one approach, a single document. The second approach is three documents, where a single document is defining the generic solution, and then a second document for mapping to NetConf, and the third document for mapping to RESTConf. So it's either one or three documents. Here we see two documents. So the NetConf specific document is defining a generic solution and the NetConf mapping. And then this document that's being discussed right now, presented right now, is just simply the RESTConf mapping. So it's kind of confusing to do it that way, I think. I worry about long-term maintenance. If anyway, either one or three documents seems to be the right way of proceeding. I see Mahesh, hopefully as AD, nodding his head, and yeah. Oh, and I see a comment on the list from Lou Bircher, who's my co-chair, NetMod. He appears to like the three document approach per protocol mapping documents, which I think is ideal actually, because then it allows for other mappings like CoreConf I mentioned, not maintained by this working group, but another working group could easily create a CoreConf. Oh, and I see Rashad plus oneing Lou's comment, so I think that's a good idea. Anyway, I'll step away from the microphone, my contributor microphone, and go back to the chair microphone. Are there any more comments on this?
I can respond,
Please
maybe.
go.
So as a contributor, I agree. It's very clear to have it split out into one base functionality document and then protocol specific documents. It's clear to follow, clear to implement, clear to reference when you need it. We didn't want to disturb the document, the NetConf transaction ID document that was already pretty far in the in the process. So would you suggest that, or the people that support this, that it should be reworked and folded into that transaction ID document, or that has already been into working group last call, or to now split into three documents? That is probably substantial work.
So again, I'll say as chair, either one or three documents would be ideal. As a contributor, I think three documents is better.
Okay, we'll take that to the author group and discuss it.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's it for this presentation. Back to next presentation.
I think it's the NetConf error list and error identities. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's on screen. I'll pass this slide control back to you.
Thank you. So it's me again. On the behalf of the authors, myself and Mithun, I'm presenting the NetConf error list and error identities registries draft. So the NetConf errors and identities have no canonical source. We would like to create IANA registries for NetConf errors and identities, which makes it possible to create IANA Yang modules of these registry contents. The status quo is that there exists no canonical source, as said, or registry for NetConf errors. They are listed in RFCs 4741 and 6241, and new errors and error identities are listed in the RFC where they are defined and introduced. So the NetConf notifications, subscribe notifications, Yang push, etc., etc. And as you've seen the work in this working group, recently, current work, the list pagination, trace context extension, Yang push to, etc. So it's a distributed set of documents if you want to have a complete list of errors or error identities. So there's no easy way to get all the existing errors. Often needs to be hard-coded, or at least need some parsing of several sources to get all the error identities. And the RFCs aren't machine-friendly to parse. And you could end up needing to import Yang data models just for error identities. So a solution is to create IANA registries, then a NetConf error list registry and a NetConf error identities registry, and create initial Yang modules for these above registries. Advantages would be then that there will be a canonical source for all NetConf protocol errors and error identities, easy and well-defined way to define the Yang modules of these registries. They're machine readable for implementations to have access to NetConf errors and error identities, and no need to import full protocol modules for just these errors and identities lists. So the next steps would be to ask the working group if we should work on this, adopt a document, and then gather feedback and define a solution. That was it. Thank you.
Nobody's in the queue, but oh,
yeah,
we have
Mahesh.
2 people in the queue. Please.
Mahesh, speaking as a contributor, I do think it's a good idea, and I would support the work in the working group.
Thank you. I can say also before, Alex, that the last IETF I discussed this shortly with Rob as well. So I am hoping that he will join as a co-author as well. Yes, Alex.
Same here. I think this is interesting work. I, however, have some questions and maybe some suggestions. First thing is that you say some errors are defined in some Yang modules that are in an RFC, and these, when you need to use them, you need to import that, and therefore you need to implement the Yang module. That's logic, but however, if that error is in that Yang module, that means that it's specific to that document, right? So it would not make sense to just use the error without the implementation of the whole, or at least the protocol that is defining that, right? So I am a bit puzzled on that. Then seeing from the slides, slide 5, you want to create a registry in Ayana and then create an initial young module with all the registries. I support that. However, when there is a new draft or new proposal, there would be new errors, and we need a way to enforce that. Okay, when we are creating new ones, we need to tell these authors that they need also to register those identities to this Ayana. And then second thing is that maybe a way to go, as this young module need to be updated with as new registries are in the Ayana, maybe should be a Ayana maintained module. That I don't know if that would be the way to go. So that are my comments.
I'm sorry, Alex, could you repeat the last, I didn't hear it quite right. Could you repeat it?
So if my understanding is correct, is there a way that there are some young modules that are maintained by Ayana and not by the working group themselves? And so when a registry is updated, Ayana themselves, they create the young module and register them into the Ayana. And I think that would be the better approach, so that not every time we have a new error, we need to re-update that young module and letting Ayana maintain that.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. For that's the idea here, that to have Ayana maintain Yang modules for this, and there's a process for that as well. It's being discussed in NetMod and outside of NetMod as well, the corridors. So that is the idea.
Thank you.
And then the Ayana Yang modules would be updated automatically when the Ayana registries are updated.
Okay, Kent, as contributor, I'm in queue. So I'm looking at this document, and one thing that I think about is the NetConf errors are also used by RESTConf. RESTConf, whenever there's an error, it's presenting the RPC error as defined in NetConf.
I have
So
a
this
backup
isn't.
slide for this.
Say again?
I have a backup slide for this.
Okay,
Showing
go
us.
ahead and present your backup slide. Perfect. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the I think the thoughts I had as well was if we should have an analogous registry for NetConf error list for RESTConf. Are the RESTConf errors distributedly defined as the NetConf errors? Or could the RESTConf protocol just reuse the Yang modules that are defined for NetConf? That is the thoughts I've had.
Okay, perfect. I'm glad that you jumped. You foresaw the issue I was going to raise. So these aren't truly NetConf specific errors or RESTConf
No.
specific, or I mean they're just errors. I
Yeah.
mean CoreConf would have the same errors. We shouldn't call them NetConf errors. Their IANA registry should not be a NetConf error. You know, a NetConf specific error registry. It should just be a protocol error registry. So, I mean, let's make it generic, is basically my high point. Um, and then my low point is that I almost question if we as a working group are going too far in trying to define all these errors. Um, I mean, the specific error codes. So, as an implementer, I I will tell you, I simply look to see whether or not there's any error. If there's any error, versus, what is the specific error? I mean, I wonder if like others are feeling the same, or like, or, I mean, currently NetConf, oh, how many errors are there, right? Like a dozen, maybe 12 or so. It's not that many, but are people actually switching? Do they have code logic that switches on the specific error code? Or is it like more like myself, where if it's any error, that's the end of the transaction? Um, I mean, so here we're trying to define a registry for errors, but my question is, do we want error codes at all? I mean, like, should we maybe back out of that whole solution approach as we think about NetConf next and RESTConf next, there's an opportunity to just do away with it. Any comments from the room?
Mahesh again. I believe Rob has a couple of comments in the chat. My take is that yes, there is probably going to be a common set of errors for both the protocols, but then there would be NetConf specific and RESTConf specific based on the transport maybe errors that it encounters. So I don't know. Leaving aside the question of how you use them, if you're truly looking to register these errors, probably you need common and then one specifically for NetConf and one for RESTConf.
Okay, great. And I see there's an active chat window going on. Perfect. I'd love to see a lot of activity on the chat window. Discussion, right? I mean, that's what we're here for, to discuss the items. And I throw out, contentious or, you know, interesting items for discussion. So there's that. You're next in queue, or do you mean to be next in queue, or should we?
Yes. Just to address your point there about if we should remove errors. I don't think so. I think we should have a much more granular. Could have an error per line number when we're debugging, right? So the error identities and everything, the combinations you can have for NetConf errors, they're very helpful to find stuff in implementation when at least I'm debugging and when my peers are debugging. So.
Okay, and just responding to your comment, I'm kind of jumping back in queue, but does this suggest then that maybe there should be 3 IANA registries, one for common errors, one for RESTConf specific errors, and one for NetConf specific errors? I'm not really sure if we're talking about that as a potential solution. Anyway, I'll just throw it out there. James, you're next in queue.
Yeah, so James Cumming. I also agree we should not do away with the errors. We should keep them. We should make sure that they are specific to, or not specific to the transport layer as well. I think that's, we don't want to kind of muddy those waters really. I think it's useful to have a set of them. I question how frequently we really add and remove and change them. I think this would be a fairly static registry. At least I'd hope so. And given it's a small number and fairly static, creating 2 additional, one for NetConf, one for RESTConf, or 3 additional, one for a joint one, might be a lot of administrative overhead for a very small number of errors.
Okay, and just kind of peeking to the next presentation, which I'm giving, which is the Yang Next impacts onto NetConf. But just basically Yang Next impact onto this working group. One of the things that I noticed in RFC 7950 was that it did specify when specific error codes should be presented. And sometimes those error codes were not actually NetConf specific. They were actually more logic oriented, like a validation error, right? A validation error isn't NetConf specific or RESTConf specific. It's just a validation error. So there is indeed in the the Yang Next effort, the desire to define some error codes that are generic to any protocol mapping. And then of course they can imagine specific protocols having additional error codes on top of those generic errors. So I'll just leave it at that. Are you done, Per? Anything more?
Yeah, no. Thank you for being supportive of the work. We'll try to continue.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And
Thank
I'm sorry. From a process perspective, I'm assuming that are you thinking to update the document and then presenting it for adoption, or what is your thought here?
It probably needs to be updated. And I'll fold in the comments that have been raised here as well. Try to accommodate as much as possible. updating the document and then asking for adoption later.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I am the last presenter, and sadly, I don't know if the video shows me here or if I need a stand at the microphone stand. Can anybody tell me if I should get up and move to the microphone stand? Oh, Benoit says I'm okay. I'm going to sit at the chair desk. All right. So, oh, perfect. Rashad says they can see me. Thank you. Okay, so the last presentation is the initial Yang Next impact onto NetConf 2.0. And, notice it's not talking about NetConf, 1.1 or 1.2, because the assumption is that the next version of NetConf will be a 2.0, not a 1.2. And also, it's only about NetConf. It's not a mapping to RESTConf. Why? Because RFC 7950 only had mappings to NetConf. RESTConf didn't exist at the time 7950 was published. In fact, if you think about the numbers, 7950 is less than 8040, right? So there you go. All right. The Yang Next baseline document, which, okay, so fast forward to Wednesday, NetMod meeting, I'll be presenting the Yang Next baseline document, but just let it be known that there's a desire to create a baseline document, which is effectively RFC 7950, but it removes all the XML and NetConf specific bits. So it's really, semantically identical to 7950, just removing those parts that are XML and NetConf specific. That's creating a baseline on top of which we can then start to create the changes that will become NetConf, or sorry, Yang Next. So in the process of removing the, so of course we removed the XML specific bits and that got moved into a document that's called Yang XML, and that's in the NetMod working group. But to the NetConf working group, it removed the NetConf specific parts, and it is incumbent upon the NetConf working group to pick up and those parts and add it or do something with those parts so they're not lost, because otherwise they will be. And that's what this presentation is about. So that's the high level bit. So specifically, there's all these. These are all the sections that got removed, literally deleted entirely from the ROC 7950 XML. Two of these line items, you'll see there's a surprise item. And so the biggest surprise is that nowhere in RFC's 6241 are the insert or key attributes defined, which are used for controlling the order by user lists and leaf lists. So the history, of course, is that RFC 4741 was the original NetConf document, was published before Yang ever existed. And then Yang, original Yang 6020, was published, which defined the ability, like some lists can be ordered. But, that came after 4741. But then NetConf was republished, literally 6241 obsoleted 4741. But in that effort, it did not pick up the fact that there were these ordered lists. So nowhere in the NetConf protocol specification is there a definition of how to order or to control the ordering of lists. This is a major issue, a major break. All right. So that was the biggest surprise that was found. It should be fixed, must be fixed. Okay, so I that's really the end of my presentation, but I thought that we would have plenty of time, and so I would have backup slides, if you will, details. We can go through them really, and like this list of sections. So each section, I have a slide that talks about that section, but um, I don't necessarily, I mean, I will use the time that way uh, because I think it's very important the working group is clear about the impact that's occurring. But if there's any open mic issues, I will, you know, give the floor. If anyone wants to raise an issue, a generic NETCONF working group issue, open mic issue, before I go detail by detail, like section by section, are there any comments? Open mic issues?
In Farah. So I spent some time with the draft this
A
morning.
little bit louder, please.
Oh, no, I spent some time with the draft this morning, and in the introduction section, which I think is updated in 03, you say in there that there are issues with the original spec, but that's really the only detail I could find as to kind of why we're even going down that road. Is there something, well, I was unable to find anything else in there, and there's nothing referenced in there. Is there a list of these issues? Do we have, you know, some concrete information about sort of why we're going down this path?
Okay. Okay. So first and foremost, I think if I understand you correctly, you're saying you looked at the Yang 2 document, the
Three.
diffs on that document,
Yeah, the 2 to 3
which is
diffs, which,
removing all this stuff, and you know you're questioning as to what is the impact to NetConf?
not so much what the impact is, but why we're doing this in the first instance.
Why are we doing Yang next at all?
Yes.
Or- oh my gosh.
Yeah, I have been out of the loop for a while, so if I've missed something, then I apologize for that. I'm just playing catch up.
Okay, so Yang next, the effort is being presented on Wednesday morning in the NetMod working group. It is a thing that's been in discussion for about a decade now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's-
I mean, it's, yeah,
Yeah.
I have heard about it, but I mean, my comment on this one is that, you know, with the people who I speak to around this, we don't have a lack of standards, we don't have a lack of models, we do have a lack of implementations. And, you know, the reasons that we always hear about this is it's too complex, it's too expensive. And I feel at this stage, anything that makes those problems worse, this is not the time.
Yeah, so that's this is a conversation that should occur in NetMod,
Okay.
I believe.
Mhm.
It's not a NetConf specific issue, uh, but agreed. I mean, I'll just try to give you a quick high-level response. Um, this is why we're not NetMod is not thinking to do a Yang 1.2, instead jumping straight to 2.0. The thinking being is that 2.0 is inevitable. If the analysis of the issues were that there were a number of important issues that were not backwards compatible, and therefore a not backwards compatible version of Yang was imminent, and a baby step to a 1.2 Yang would be not helpful. It would cause disruption that implementers, vendors, and operators would, you know, have to support the baby step, and then shortly after support the larger step to 2.0. So we just said do away with that and go single step to the 2.0 version. But maybe your question is why do 2.0 at all?
Yeah, that it kind of stems from that because I mean, you know, we've done a lot of Yang implementations. Yes, there's annoyances, there's things that could be better, but I don't really see these as barriers to adoption as much as moving the goalposts constantly.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, we'll pick it up on Wednesday.
Yeah, again, yeah. Wednesday. So to be clear, I mean, if even if we chose not to improve Yang at all, it would still be valuable to republished RFC 7950, removing the XML and NetConf specific bits. So it would just be a document that was speaking or defining the data modeling language and without all the other parts. So it would still be valuable. And this presentation is about, okay, so we removed the NetConf specific parts. That then comes the NetConf working group to try to update the NetConf specification to pick up those parts. That's what this document is, this presentation is about. And these are the, on screen, are the sections that were removed. And now I will start to look at some of those. I don't know if we have time to do all of them, and I'm not going to read them all. They're kind of small eye chart items. But let's look at the first one in section 5.1.2.1 in RFC 7950. It speaks about NetConf XML encoding, and here's a generic thing that's basically saying how an RPC could be encoded. It's a very high level statement, but it's a NetConf specific statement, so it was removed. Then in section 5.3.1, it talks about XML namespaces. So interestingly, Yang defines, it has a statement called namespace. That namespace is an XML namespace. The reason for the XML namespace is almost exclusive to NetConf, but there it is. And somehow, I think the NetConf specification should identify that that namespace is being used. Actually, in this section, it talks about the definition of a specific namespace, Yang:1, that's used for error messages. That should not be in the the Yang specification document. So next, we have section 5.6.4, announcing conformance information. So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It actually, talks about basically NetConf server must announce modules it implements in Yang library, right? So we all agree that's needed. It's been defined as required since RFC 7950 was published, but it's in the Yang specification, and it should be in, or it has to be in the NetConf specification. Next, section 7.5.8. This is regarding the edit config operation on containers. And, it just basically talks about merge versus replace operations. I mean, these are NetConf specific. So this is something that should be moved to a NetConf specific document. Again, we have a section of 7.6.7 for leafs, a similar kind of thing. It's talking about NetConf operations on leafs. That should be moved to a NetConf specific document. Section 7.7.9 for leaf lists. So, I mean, the generic statement applies, but this one also brings back that big surprise about ordering. So here it's talking about order, is it first or last, before or after, what is the pivot point and the operation that's occurring on it. So that ordering issue is being defined here. It's not, it should be defined in a NetConf specific document. And anyone or those who are familiar with ROC 8040, which is the RESTConf specific document, will know that RESTConf defines these operations, how to control, ordered lists. RESTConf defines it, but NetConf doesn't. So here's, this is something that NetConf needs to do. There's also a usage example. So basically showing how to use, so that got deleted as a NetConf specific example. There's a section 786, which is the same as the leaf list, but for lists. Again, the ordering is being defined here. It shouldn't be defined here. I see some people in the queue, and I'll Rashad, do you have a comment that you want to?
Yeah, so the question I had, and I'm sorry if I've lost track of, when you were showing ordered by user not defined in 4271 for the reason you mentioned, and not in 6241, so it's not defined anywhere?
Correct. Not in 6241.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's a big surprise, right? Shocking, actually, in my mind. Deepak, you're next in queue. Do you have a comment?
Hi. Uh, it's not only the insert or the key, there's also the value attribute that is missing that I couldn't see in 6241. Having said that, do you think that the NetConf 2.0 document is the right place to update it? Or because I feel that it is more Yang specific than NetConf specific? Because it's under the Yang namespace, the insert key and the value. So why do you think that we need to update the NetConf document?
Okay. Well, first off, nice to meet you. Um, if you look at the current proposal for the baseline document of Yang 2, it does retain, like in the section where it talks about ordered lists, it says that the update says that protocols must define mechanisms supporting or controlling the ordering of lists, right? A statement like that. It doesn't go into the details of specifically how they do it, just simply stating that they must support the ability. So that's what I think is good for the Yang document. And then I would think that the NetConf document would go into the details about how to do it. The RESTConf document would go into details about how to do it. In fact, it already does. 8040 does. So I think that's my response to you. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. And we were talking about the Yang Next document, right? I was going to ask you in the NetMod meeting, but anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and ask you right away. So we are talking about Yang Next, we're talking about Yang 2.0, and there is also something called Yang++, which has the C++ elements to it. So I'm assuming all these are kind of evolving towards the next version of Yang, or are we talking about different versions or different evolutions of the Yang?
Yeah, there's so first off, I'm mindful of the time. We're over limit, so very quick response. Yang++ is a idea for Yang Next to become object-oriented, an object-oriented version of Yang, and that would be a big change to Yang. I think currently the idea is for Yang Next to be minimally non-backwards compatible. So it's mostly, like, let's say 95% the same as Yang 1.1, but there's some things that change. Like, for instance, semantic versioning. So we just simply say that that's now the way of doing it. So that's not backwards compatible, but it's not a big change. You understand? Okay. So again, we're over time. Thank you everybody for joining and participating in this meeting. First meeting on Monday morning is always difficult, but we all hung in there and appreciate it, especially the coffee that Tomas brought me. Have a good rest of the day and week.
implementation work in a TSUB?
I think we do this.
Yeah, but it's still in the bill.
It's in the top first.
Well, and you kind of need to, because there is going to be a line item in the TSUB. Yes, it's in place, but I don't really know what to replace it.
Yeah, but I'm replacing access. There is no